So good afternoon, everyone. Hope everyone is having a fantastic time at the summit. Before I introduce the next segment, I wanted to make a quick but very important announcement. The new batch for the Conscious Woman program starts on August 20th, 2022. The Conscious Woman program is Shinomics' flagship program for mid-career women looking to become the best version of themselves. I know there are a lot of alumni in the session itself, and they will vouch for this program. It's a 4-month virtual journey created and led by Bhavna herself. It includes the mindful leadership curriculum, an embedded conscious coaching module, conversations with industry experts and mentors, a compassion project which every member undertakes as a way of paying forward. And as if this is not enough, you will get to be part of a community of conscious women from across the globe who will be your cheerleaders for life, like you will be for them. So, if you are an aspirational woman with 8+ years of experience from any walk of life, be it corporate, entrepreneur, solopreneur, non-profit leader, or an artist with a passion for understanding and leveraging your full potential, please apply for the program, and the link will be in the chat. Now, with this spirit of conscious living and leading, it is my absolute pleasure to announce the next segment, which is a panel discussion on conscious consumption, the power of making sustainable choices. I read somewhere that the greatest threat to our planet is the belief that someone else will save it. Growing up, I remember my parents and teachers reminding me to switch off lights and fans as we left the room, ensuring that the tap is not dripping, the food is not wasted, and takeaway was non-existent. Everything was recycled, repaired, and reused. Now, as I reflect back, things changed for me as I came into adulthood. The culture of convenience crept in, and I embraced the use and throw habits. And now life has come a full circle, and I'm having to learn to go back to my childhood habits. And I've realized that when you pay attention to your actions, you notice that how much of what we do out of habit, as if we have no choice. But we do have a choice. And we are going to talk about the power of these choices in our panel discussion today. It's my absolute pleasure to introduce the panel. And our first guest and moderator for the panel. Great, so we have everybody on the screen. So it's my absolute pleasure to introduce our first guest and moderator for the panel, Sahar Mansoor. She's the founder and CEO of Bare Necessities, a social enterprise rooted in the philosophy of zero waste, circular economy, and sustainability. Sahar is the co-author of Bare Necessities, How to Lead a Zero Waste Life, published by the Penguin Random House. Her business offers zero waste, personal care, lifestyle, home care, and educational products and services, including online sustainability courses. Her work has been recognized by Google India, NDTV, Cosmopolitan, amongst many, many others. And she has been most recently awarded the Cartier Young Leader Award in 2022 for Bare Necessities, social impact, business model, and for building bridges across people, disciplines, and cultures. Welcome, Sahar.
Thank you so much, Pooja, and thank you so much for that very generous introduction.
Our next guest on the panel, I would like to introduce and welcome Tanuj Bhojwani to talk about conscious tech. Now, Tanuj calls himself a storyteller who codes. He's also the co-author of The Art of Bitfulness, Keeping Calm in a Digital World with Nandan Nilenkani. He crafts narratives about technology that are accessible without sacrificing technical depth. As a fellow at iSPIRIT Foundation, Tanuj works on policy issues related to digital identity, payments, data protection, and drones. Prior to iSPIRIT, Tanuj has been a VC and an entrepreneur. A very warm welcome to you, Tanuj.
Thank you, Pooja, and good afternoon to all my panelists. I'm looking forward to this session.
Our next guest, it's my pleasure to introduce Kriti Tula to talk about conscious fashion. Kriti is the creative director and co-owner at Doodlage. Doodlage is India's first global, sustainable, and affordable fashion brand, focusing on reselling, repair, and upcycling while including ethically made recycled fabrics. A trained apparel designer and design manager, Kriti has worked in the global apparel industry for more than 10 years. She started the conversation around sustainable fashion in India in 2012. Her work has been covered by many global organizations like Deutsche Welle, Brut, Apple, and many others. And Doodlage has grown to be one of the most acknowledged and credible brands for sustainable fashion in India. Welcome, Kriti.
Thank you, Pooja. Thank you, Shimonics, for having me for this panel discussion, and looking forward to the conversation.
Our next guest, please welcome Neha Ranglani to talk about conscious eating. Neha is an integrative and nutritionist and health coach practicing for the last 14 years. She has helped more than 20,000 plus people across the globe to become health independent. She has authored 2 books in her Reboot series and is passionate about educating people about authentic nutrition and wellness information. So welcome, Neha. And last but not the least, I would like to welcome...
Sorry, thank you. Thank you so much, Pooja. Thank you. It's a pleasure.
And last but not the least, I would like to welcome Harshita Chandra, CEO of Upcycleluxe. Upcycleluxe is India's first carbon neutral and zero waste sustainable fashion marketplace that showcases environmental impact with a wide range of authentic, organic, eco-friendly, chemical-free, upcycled, handcrafted, and circular products for everyday and occasional use. It's been awarded the Sustainability Initiative of the Year by IREC Awards. Harshita herself has been recognized as India's top 30 tech women entrepreneurs by the Indian Women's International League. And she's a passionate entrepreneur and global speaker and a sustainability advocate. Now I'll hand it over back to Sahar to take it from here.
Awesome, great. Thank you so much, Pooja. I'm honestly really looking forward to learning from all of you today. There are lots of people who I love, respect, and deeply admire. So I'm like literally on the best hot seat I could possibly be this Saturday afternoon. So let's start with Tanuj. We can't live with our screens. We can't live without them. We've all had a really weird relationship with technology, of being super connected and then just wanting to unplug in the pandemic. So tell us a little bit about your book and how do we kind of have this conscious balance with technology in our lives today?
Thank you, Sahar. So, like you said, it's a pandemic book. It's a book where in the pandemic, you suddenly realize, although it crept up on us, in the pandemic, you suddenly realize I am A, dependent on this thing, and B, it's definitely hurting me, right? Like I'm scrolling, I am glued to my screen. It's my only connection to the outside world, and it started taking over our lives and our attention. So the book, it's called The Art of Bitfulness. It's with me and Nandan Nilenkani, who is, forget everything else he's done. The most important thing I think in this context is that he's 66. So and he's a tech guru, etc. But the idea is we used to do these walks in the park because at some point we were both frustrated with the pandemic and we were working together on some other things. And he basically started having these meetings in the park, and he called me for one of these meetings on a walk. Now it's an exercise ritual, right? You have to at least walk for 45 minutes. That was the scheduled time because it's also a walk. So on one of these meetings, we got done in about 15 minutes and then we had half an hour. And what do you do? So we're making small talk and we started saying, how lovely it is to just be out and meeting somebody in person. And he was saying the same thing. And I realized that he and I had the same issues, right? And what struck me was I used to always look at myself and I used to think, I'm the problem. I'm this, millennial who grew up with the internet. So therefore it's my problem. But talking to him made me realize that even him at his age, with his kind of experience and background and seeing technology change, even he feels the same way now. So there's something different about it this time. That's where the book came from. And why it's called The Art of Bitfulness is because, it just needs a little bit of mindfulness, a little bit of being conscious about the choices you're making is the answer. Because I wish I could tell you there is a hack. I wish I could tell you there's this app you download and you get instant gratification and you're no longer looking at your screen. There isn't, unfortunately. And, like in the introduction, Pooja said, we're in a culture of convenience now. We look for an app for everything. And also, if you're in India with the Dunzo, it's not there even in the other countries like where I am right now. We don't have that kind of ridiculous instant gratification anywhere else. And I started seeing more of it every day. Like even in a simple conversation, your friend says something, you can't remember a bar, the name of a bar, the name of a book. Usually, like, or at least 20 years ago, 30 years ago, people would just let go, right? Like they just, it'll come to me or not. But today we obsess, right? Like we need to know right now. And since the writing of this book, I've been sort of observing more and more how this happens. And honestly, people were great. People were doing fine. People lived, they loved, they laughed for 30 years ago. And I'm pretty sure we can do it even though we have the phones. It's that we are choosing to do this. So I don't have enough time to go through everything, but the book basically, how it frames this problem is, in the only way that I know, is that it's a toxic relationship, right? Like it's not good for us, but we keep going back for more. And if you look at it as a toxic relationship, like in any relationship, what experts will tell you is that it's not one person's fault. It's very easy for me to stand here and say Mark Zuckerberg ruined my life, but that's not what it is, right? It is a pattern of behavior that we are also part of, and that we also need to recognize and do our own bit to fix. While there is certain things that your technology should be doing better, and we write about that in the book as well. But finally, yesterday I just want to sort of bring this up and make this a little more sort of relevant. Is that two stories, if you don't mind. The first was like one of the things that happened to me just before writing this book is that I had gone home to Bombay after a very long time, pandemic, etc. My parents hadn't seen me in a while, and I was sitting there and I was like, again, like I was in the restaurant, I was scrolling, didn't realize I was doing it. My mom clicked a picture of me doing that and then WhatsApped it to me, which is how I realized that I am doing it, which is a very cool trick, by the way, if you ever want to like subtly tell somebody to give their attention to you. And the second thing I was saying is that, I've seen this meme floating around these days where there's two people sitting in a bus. One's looking out of the window and smiling, and the other one's sitting on the other side of the bus, and it's dark and looking out this dark sort of thing. And they both have the same caption, right? Which says, sort of, nothing matters, right? Right? Everything is meaningless, kind of thing. And what that means to tell you is that that's true. That's the fact. It's what you pay attention to, how you interpret that fact. That makes a difference in your attitude and well-being and happiness. And I think our phones, the biggest things they do, forget addiction, forget this, that, essentially that you are not paying attention to the things right in front of you that probably matter a lot more. And I think that's the so if I have any motivating reasons to tell you to try and make this change, it is that honestly, look up from your screens. The world is amazing, right? It's and if you're really paying attention to you, I don't think I've been bored in forever, right? Because it's not because I have a phone on me always. It's just that if you're paying attention, there is so much to see and to observe and to learn and to engage with every day. So I hope the book is helpful in doing that. It's a framework. It's like it's modeled as a self-help book, but it's not like you can do everything. It's like pick your own adventure, what works. Once again, it's called The Art of Bitfulness, and I believe it's now very soon going to come out in audiobook form also, if you're interested in that.
Awesome. Great. Thanks so much for sharing. Switching gears a little bit, I think all all of us communicate so much of who we are through our clothing. And Kriti's been someone, I've really kind of admired for a really long time and kind of pioneered and was speaking about ethical fashion at a time when maybe not a lot of people were back in 2012. So Kriti, I want to invite you to kind of share how we can use fashion as a force for good in the world, and why does it matter in the first place? Why should we consciously think about our clothing?
Thanks, Sahar, for that question. And it's always lovely to be in a panel discussion with you. We've had so many chances to be together on panel discussions in the past as well. I think, as per your question, one, it is important to understand, and I'll tell you from my personal experience as to how, when I joined fashion, like you said, 2012, nobody else was talking about fashion as as a conscious space, fashion that can change the world, etc. So, and when I joined fashion back in 2006, I landed in designing because in fashion designing specifically because I was interested in fashion designing, and I was interested in designing. I wasn't sure about fashion being one of them, and I think fashion designing was the only sort of stream in designing that was popular at the time. So I somehow landed up there, and I started my journey to become a fashion designer. And the more I got into my internships, my various curriculums, I sort of understood how superficial it is to sort of, and how the trends were going towards this mass consumption and mass production as a pattern. I got a chance to work with so many export houses, and that emotion behind fashion, that how fashion expresses your individuality, was sort of slowly disappearing. When we grew up, fashion was an important part of our of us growing. We would always have hand-me-downs. We would always, like, a garment lasted almost more than we would wanted it to last, and that was all slowly changing, and that conversation was sort of disappearing. Online fashion was just about coming. That line of convenience of sitting there and buying the cheapest product available in the market was opening up for India as well. So I had seen that change happening over a period of time, but the more I spend time with fashion, the more I realize that there are so many lives and so many people and so much that goes behind the scenes of fashion that is getting lost in this conversation. And that is where I felt that it's important to start this conversation with consumer. That it's important to think about consciously consuming, because there's so many resources that go into making your clothing. There's so many people that are involved in creating your clothing. Those people are getting a certain wage that they're taking, and the less you start paying for it, the more devastating it is, both for the environment and the people behind the scene. And just by consuming consciously, and just by thinking about what you're buying, just by investing more time in learning about where your clothes are coming from, what is the material being used in my clothing, how long can I wear this clothing, how many things I can style this clothing with, just those little steps, and just that connection with the clothes that you are buying can truly change the way fashion is even being produced today. Which is why it's important. Like, I had always had options to become a part of a production system that was more conscious, but when I started the label, the link that was missing was a brand that connected consumers to that conversation, and which is where we started, which is why I think we started Doodlage in the first place.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing, Kriti. And I think you're right. Something that you said really struck a chord with me, which is you're investing in something when you're purchasing, right? You're investing in, your values and someone being paid fairly. You're investing in a cleaner, greener, more just world. You're, investing in perhaps the groundwater not being polluted by crazy synthetic dyes and whatnot. So it really, really matters. Our decisions actually matter, and we do really vote with our wallet, like they say. So thanks so much for sharing. Okay, so switching gears to food. So we have Neha on our panel as well. So Neha, so much when it comes to individual food habits, right? There are food systems, especially here in India. I mean, who makes your food, who produced it, where do we purchase it from? And there's also a huge kind of cultural difference, right? Each state we we celebrate kind of an art form through the food that we make. And there's topography, there's personal preferences and more. How do we kind of, how does conscious eating integrate this maybe local knowledge perhaps in the seemingly very, very simple act of just consuming food?
Yes, I think this entire act of consuming food first and foremost, has become such a technical and a mechanical act. It's no more the meditative act of eating that it used to be. I mean, I remember when we were small, our grandparents would tell us no TV while eating food, no discussions on the dinner table and stuff like that. And we were kids and we were like, what nonsense. But as we grew up, that became a part of the way we ate. But today, when you see kids, they're not eating without televisions, they're not eating without devices. I think that is the first step to consciousness, because the food that's right in front of you, that's supposed to be cherished and admired, and you just need to be with that food, because that food is going to give you so much nourishment. It's your fuel, it's the fuel you are living on. Apart from that, I think what has really changed is, in the larger scheme, what has changed is the agricultural practices, because of which the food that we're getting on the table is no more that pure and clean and stuff that our ancestors ate. And the best part is today we have a choice to consciously choose healthy foods by going more organic and choosing foods which are local, seasonal, regional, so that you're supporting the agricultural practices and you're supporting the soil. You're supporting soil health, which is so important, because soil is life. The amount of microbes that are there in your soil, like 1 teaspoon of soil has more microbes than the population on this planet Earth. So we aren't supporting that by choosing all the chemically loaded foods, the more convenience and processed foods that we are choosing. We're actually supporting the wrong agricultural and the wrong food practices, which is indirectly coming to us in ways in terms of health issues, and it's just getting back to us, right? So I feel the consciousness in choosing the right ingredient, preparing it with a lot of conscious love and good intention. I think that again is super important. Nobody talks about that. Everyone talks about health in terms of what to eat. But how are you cooking your food? What is the intention that you're putting in there? Is there gratitude? Is there, are you blessing your food enough? Like the food on your plate, the food that you're cooking, because that intention is actually going to get into you, and it's going to flood all your cells with the good, happy hormones and the good chemicals. So I think that intention, the gratitude is super important. And obviously the act of eating, sitting and consciously eating your food and just eating like, today I can't even give an example, because today we are doing nothing with full mindfulness and full consciousness. Today, everything is multitasking, and we are not multitasking beings. We have to have one point focus. That's where our body does the best. We can multitask. That's the capacity and the ability we have. But that's not good for our health. We are not meant to do that, because the more we do that, the more we are putting our body under stress, and that stress is creating so many diseases, so many issues in our health. And we blame it on the food, and we blame it on exercise, and we blame it on all of that. But it's actually the way you're eating, the way you're choosing, the way you're living. Are you conscious of your act of eating? And that's important. So, I always tell my clients, I said, when you're sitting to eat, you need to breathe. You need to consciously breathe, focus on your breath for like 5-10 deep breaths, and then start eating, because you need to get into the rest and digest mode. Because we are always on the go. We are choosing, we are always running around, we are always in a hurry, we are worrying about something, we are getting tasks done. So the stress is a constant part of our life. If we don't cut off from the stress, and we don't kind of give our body the signal that it's time to digest food, we are actually not digesting it. So it's not what you eat, it's what you digest, absorb, assimilate, utilize, all of that. And we are clearly not doing that. That's why we have so many gut issues today. We have, like, literally every person has definitely one or more than one gut issues, with acidity, constipation, bloating, poor microbiome in your gut, which is then leading to hormonal issues and weight gain and depression and anxiety and PCOS and all of that. So I think it's very important, choose organic, start with what you're choosing. to buy, because you're also supporting that kind of culture, you're supporting that kind of farming practices. Cook with a lot of love, gratitude, and very, very good intention towards your food. See, when you're sitting to eat, meditate, breathe, relax, eat your food like this is the last meal you're having when you're alive. Eat like that, and then get on with your work. I think the whole act of eating needs to be a lot of should be, it has to be done very consciously, and this whole practice. But once you do it, it becomes autopilot, and then it becomes a way of life, and then you start seeing beautiful changes in your body.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. And I think what struck me the most is just a sense of gratitude. I mean, the gratitude for the farmer who produced that meal, the person who has made that delicious meal, and for us to just have the ability and the luxury to enjoy a Indian meal. I think that's something that we can all really take back into just bringing more mindfulness into our daily routine. It's like a simple luxury. It's giving us a little breather, a break. And I think we should really kind of relish that and just like soak it up.
Yes.
So thank you so much for sharing. All right, Harshita. So what makes you so excited about building this carbon neutral marketplace, and why does it matter?
So thank you, Sahar, for the question. I mean, I'm so glad to share the table with such experienced conscious change makers. So I'm really happy to share this information with you guys as well. So Upcycleluxe is where we are bringing amalgamation of hundreds of sustainable brands for leading and spreading conscious consumption and zero waste in India. So besides bringing together the sustainable brands, we're also calculating the impact index of each product of the brands and spreading the awareness to the consumers that we call as, know your impact and offsetting the consumers' price. So this balances carbon emissions for three stakeholders for us. That is the brands we support, the consumers that buy from us, and the companies itself that is making it carbon neutral. So at this point, when the consumer understands sustainability, is it important to let them also know about the blueprint for scaling the voluntary carbon markets? And in our case, it comes out to be offsetting. So that's really important for our team also, that gets in kick each day that includes the impact that we are achieving. Moreover, it also does matter for the ecosystem, because consumer today requires authenticity, transparency, affordability, luxury, great stuff, and look good, everything onto one umbrella. And that's the reason why sustainable marketplaces like Upcycleluxe matter, because sustainability as a whole can't be achieved or heard alone, neither by a per person nor by a brand. So there are external forces, as by Newton's third law, it says that to every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. So that's the action that we are creating here in bringing together conscious consumption, and that is what we get in return as a demand. So that's how we say, that slow living made better together and fall sustainably in love with each day. So that's what Upcycleluxe, and we are bringing conscious consumerism together as a whole, with all the brands together we support.
Awesome, great. Thank you so much for sharing. Okay, so now we're going to do a very quick, rapid thing, rapid fire of sorts. Tanuj, what is one thing everyone right here today should do to live mindfully and have a better relationship with technology?
Sorry, I was on mute. I was saying, first of all, you should basically switch off all notifications except the people that you're comfortable with, that no matter what you're doing, they can come and tap you on the shoulder. Whoever has that level of access in your life are the only people whose notifications you should get. Everything else, your phone is for you to communicate, not for your, disturb you.
Awesome. Thank you. Good one. Kriti, what can everyone do to consume more mindfully today?
Start researching more, like you research about your food, figure out where you are, where you're going to eat, what your next vacation is going to be about. Start looking into what the problem in the fashion industry is. Start looking for the right kind of materials that would eventually biodegrade. Start asking questions like, who is making my clothes? So every brand that is creating consciously talk a lot about what they do and how they do. So take time to research the brands that you believe in or that you would like to endorse, and then go to full length with them.
Thank you. Neha, what can everyone do to eat more mindfully?
Focus on your breath and just be in the present moment. Be aware that you are not in the past or future, and just be present. Just be present, observe your present moment where you are. That's your reality, nothing else exists.
Awesome. Harshita, your conscious living tip.
I think that's the focus, sheer focus on one thing that you want to achieve with it. Another would be focusing on the intricacies of the detail that you are doing. Just mark on these steps that you are, or you want to become plastic free, or maybe your conscious fashion, you want to choose sustainable fashion or either. So I think these 2 points would be really important.
Okay, great, awesome. Okay, one last kind of quick rapid fire. What do you do to live more consciously every day, Tanuj?
Honestly, I've been trying to eat right, and other than the phone usage, I am really asking questions about where's this food coming from, where it grew, are these things fresh, are they in season, how much this had to travel to reach me. I'm not good at it, but I think I've started at least asking those questions.
Awesome, cool. Kriti, what do you do to live consciously every day?
I don't know one thing, but I would say that I try to do, like you said, do step by step, go one step at a time. I try to run a conscious label. I compost at home. I create my own bioenzymes. I choose to sort of walk to get my vegetables, source things that are locally available and are plastic free, separate my waste, figure out what can be recycled, have like a little room where somebody can come and pick up things for recycling.
Awesome.
Just
Those
like
are a handful.
just a
Awesome.
little bit of that's a part of my journey, but at the same time I like try to consume food consciously. The idea is to not do everything perfectly, but try to do try to think about what I'm doing at the moment and how I can do that better.
Lovely. Neha, what do you do every day to live more consciously?
I definitely choose organic as much as possible. And I'm a vegan. So I'm definitely away from the animal foods and all the animal stuff. I'm consciously trying to make sure I'm not buying anything that's leather.
Mm-hmm.
And, also going more vegan and cruelty free on my makeup and products that I use in my day-to-day life. So because also the chemicals that they add to your body is another story.
Yeah.
And the damage that they do is immense. So just trying to choose my food and the products I use in my day-to-day life more consciously.
Amazing. Great. Thank you so much. Harshita.
So I'm a shopaholic.
Mm-hmm.
I was a shopaholic, and being a part of such kind of a journey, fashion triggers me a lot. I mean, I wouldn't say even I'm talking about yesterday, seeing the website, the kind of brands we are collaborating with, and getting onto other fast fashion portals. They really, seduce you, as I must say, that you want to buy more, buy more, buy more. And I would today I am now being much more conscious about what I'm buying, being mindful now. I don't shop at all from fast fashion brands at all. Whatever I shop, even if at all they are really appealing to me, or maybe whatever the fashion trends are coming up, I think twice and I do not buy. Just that the mapping that we are doing right now, it's reducing the impulsive buying of any consumer. So still I'm not there, but I'm achieving day by day, step by step. I have made one drastic change, changing my entire washroom in my house to everything sustainable. That's the first thing that I stepped ahead. And my husband also, he's now a sustainable guy, and we use plastic toothbrush, we use everything which is made out of cork, which is made out of, and of course, like, we are trying to become vegan. We have yet not reduce our dairy, but we are trying to be there. So that's something that we are achieving every day, every passing day.
Great. Thanks so much for sharing, Harshita. And I think the beauty of all of you sharing the one conscious thing that you all are trying to do, or multiple, is that there was just so much synergy across all of your sectors. Whether that meant, just reducing your technology use or eating more healthy. All of you seem to do a bit of all of the things that we kind of discussed, right? And I think that speaks really well to the theme about conscious living. It's all aspects of your life. It's very, very multidimensional. It's very interdisciplinary by nature. We've got some questions coming in from people, and this one is particularly for Neha, which is nowadays people eat out a lot or order out a lot, and how does this affect our health in the long run?
So it depends what you're actually eating and ordering from outside. There are a lot of health restaurants out there who are doing a lot of sustainable stuff, who are vegan and who are, literally serving organic, good, healthy food. Now depends where you're living and which part of the world you're living in. But this trend is definitely growing where cafes are serving more organic, healthy, vegan, gluten-free, and just in general low on chemical food. If you're choosing any of that, you really don't need to bother. But then if you are choosing to eat out of the conventional restaurants that serve anything and everything, then you need to be really mindful about how many times you want to eat, what food do you want to choose? Is it just a treat meal, or is it your lifestyle where you have to meet people for work or for socializing and then you're overdoing it? So that's the question you got to ask yourself: how much and how often am I doing it? And what are the health issues that I currently have? You'll definitely find an amalgamation in the two if you're eating out a lot and you have health issues, because the chemicals that are there in the food outside and the refined oils and the hidden fats and the sugar and everything that's being used is definitely getting into our system, affecting our gut health, affecting our mental health. So you need to really be questioning yourself for that. But yes, you need to be careful of what you're choosing and try eating lesser in absolutely unhealthy places and try opting for more healthier options outside because they are available now. So
awesome. Great. So pick mindfully when you do even purchase from outside or need to order out, because all of our lives are busy and maybe it's impossible or hard to maybe cook every meal you need to do that, but just pick more mindfully. I think you spoke about gut health a lot, and I know that's like a whole topic in itself. But just the diversity of food that we need to eat as well in order to maintain like the gut biome diversity is super important. And they say that you need to have about 30 different fruits and veg and grains a week to maintain that good complex combination in your gut health. And on an Indian diet, that's quite easy actually. If you think about it, we've got so many dals, legumes.
absolutely,
So great, those are awesome tips, Neha. Thanks so much for sharing. One is for Kriti, which is people think that following a sustainable lifestyle needs to be really, really expensive, and can also sometimes turn out to be a costly affair. Can you share any insights on that?
I think this question gets asked a lot as well, that sustainable brands are very expensive. There are so many alternatives that are available, which are so much cheaper, 1/10 the price at times of the kind of clothes that we create when we are creating consciously, paying fair wages, producing smaller number of products. All of that obviously adds to the cost of the product that is created consciously by upcycle brand or brands that are recycling or brands that are choosing to work with organic material or handloom material. But at the same time, as a consumer, you need to ask that question: how many pieces am I buying in a month? How much money am I spending on fashion in general? Can I reduce that consumption pattern of buying 10 products to maybe 2 products a month, or 2 products a year, or 2 products in 6 months? Can I reduce my consumption and then see the difference of I'm still spending the same amount of money but on lesser products? Do I really need so many clothes in my wardrobe? Can I create more capsule collections? And the most sustainable wardrobe is still the one that you have at home. Can I sort of reuse things that I have? Can I restyle things that I have? Can I look at products every time that I'm buying? Can I think about what I already have and what is this product going to go best with? So that I am able to create a lot more versatile wardrobe. I don't think I have more than 30 pieces in my wardrobe, and I'm happy to sort of mix and match those products into another 200 outfits. That's the kind of wardrobe you want to be able to create. Uh, Other things to sort of keep in mind that yes, while buying sustainable brands could be expensive, you have alternatives now available in India where you have applications that allow you to swap clothing. There are applications that are available in India that allow you to buy clothes that are secondhand or to rent clothing. So if you still want to look different every time you sort of go out or for every occasion, you can choose the things that are hardly worn and are available on different applications to buy from. So pick your battles, think about what your budget allows, but you can still choose to be a conscious consumer with whatever budget you have.
Awesome. Thank you so much. In addition to all of those amazing things that you did share, renting, thrifting, embracing hand-me-downs from your sisters, wearing your nanny sari for your next wedding that you need to go to instead of purchasing, and again, all other good tips to incorporate into your closet ideas. Awesome. Great. Thank you all so much for joining. I want to be cognizant of time. I know there's a jam-packed schedule with lots of amazing insights and really inspiring speakers. I've thoroughly enjoyed a lot and learned a lot from all of you today. And I hope we all are embracing some mindfulness in our daily routine, whether that means not looking at technology, before 9 o'clock in the morning, or finding that calm to enjoy that lunch hour and really kind of chew mindfully and slowly, and maybe just investing in few fabrics and few clothing that will last us a really long time. So thank you so much for everyone for joining. Thanks for all of the questions that came in that we didn't get to address in the interest of time, but feel free to find them all on Instagram, purchase their books. We've got 3 authors on this panel, which is phenomenal, and 2 penguin ones, so shout out to that. And you will have a little poll on your screen right now, and we'd really love and appreciate if you would take a few seconds to just tell us what your responses are.